Monday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens held off a furious Tampa Bay rally in the fourth quarter for a 41-31 victory on the road last night. Tampa led it 10-0 after the first quarter. The Ravens came back. It led it 17-10 at the half. They put up 17 more in the third before the Buccaneers rallied in the fourth for a 21-7 advantage. Baltimore 5-2 with the win, 3-1 away from home. The Buccaneers dropped to 4-3, 2-2 on their home field. Baker Mayfield had 3 touchdown passes in the loss, 370 yards, 31 of 45 passing, 5 touchdowns in the win for Lamar Jackson, 17 of 22, 281 yards. One other Monday night game, the Cardinals beat the Chargers 17-15. Arizona's Chad Ryland kicked a 32-yard field goal to win it with no time left on the clock. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Shop Macy's lowest prices of the fall today. For the season's best prices on what you need now. Save 40 to 60% on new styles to get you ready for cooler temps. Like cozy coats for your crew, the perfect sweaters for layering, and more fall wardrobe updates. Plus, don't miss amazing specials for you and your home. So good, they won't last. At Macy's.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the propane tank on your grill first before hosting a tailgate.
Let's fire up.
Here, let me try. Seriously? You didn't check the propane? Who wants chips?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Salt and vinegar?
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
No way football is playing in the fall and winter.
Because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the 2 best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, let's not know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
What do you say? A little NBA debut. It's opening day in the association. We're live on Moneyline right here on SportsGrid Radio. SiriusXM Channel 159. I'm Kevin Walsh. Happy to be with you for the next hour here, where I certainly will be talking a good amount about the NBA and the season that is going to be getting underway. There's a few teams that I want to highlight here, some surprising takeaways and key notes to me as we head into this season and try and find you the best value on the board. 2 great games tonight with the Boston Celtics having their banner night at home against the newly formed New York Knicks, if you will. That total is around 223.5 with Boston laying 5 on a hook. And then late night in L.A., Lakers, Timberwolves, this game moving towards a pick'em right now. Again, in Los Angeles, that one, the debut of Bronny James. Much to be made about that, and probably too much. Well, I shouldn't say too much. It's one of those things that we should talk about. I just wish the conversation was different. I wish people would be normal about this. And instead, people's hate of LeBron, it's what it is. It's what it is. Their dislike of LeBron has kind of been able to see us get to this point where they don't like Bronny James. And it's pretty ridiculous. Again, a lot of people became experts on the back end of the second round of an NBA draft when they have no idea what they're talking about. Again, the Lakers take him at 55th. I remember when people were up in arms because they thought they were going to take him inside the top 20. That didn't happen. I mean, instead, they made one of the best picks in the entire first round by grabbing Dalton Connect, who is going to be a rotation player for the LA Lakers. And you could make a convincing argument on in the NBA's Rookie of the Year market. But that's not what happened. They took him at 55th overall. And again, there's a lot of indications that Bronny would have been able to get drafted by a different team if the Lakers and Bronny and LeBron's camp were open to that. But instead, they made sure he ended up in LA. Which again it's interesting, right? Like people are annoyed at that. But again, like in order to get angry about it, I can't believe he forced his way to LA. But also, nobody else would have drafted him. It's like, well, hold on, which one is it? So that stuff's all wrong. And again, people are always wrong about that. But now tonight, it's like, do you believe they're throwing him out there? Yes, of course. You don't wait to do this in January. You don't, it's March. This is history that LeBron James and Bronny Jr. will be making tonight. That is, no father-son duo has played together in the NBA. And now it's not even just a random father-son duo. It's the best player in the league. The best player the league has ever seen. He's not the best player anymore. He's the best player in NBA history. At minimum, he's the best player whose son has ever made the NBA by a lot. By a lot. And they're on the same team. Again, like I wouldn't start Bronny because that's a lot. You put him in, you have the moment, and that's that. What about 2.5 minutes to go in opening quarter? They should probably check in together. LeBron sneaky kind of will sometimes be the first man that comes off the floor for the Lakers. They should check in together. It'd be a really cool moment if you're not a weirdo. If you don't have hate filling up your heart. It'd be a really cool moment. They'll play about 2.5 minutes together, and then Bronny will hit the bench. And then everything else, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he then goes down to the G League. And again, like people will, like if it happens and he goes down to the G League, like people will be angry. But again, like I thought that's what you wanted. I thought that's where you felt he belonged. And if that is where he belongs, then that's where he'll go. Again, it's that simple. It really, really is. I'm not going to be betting any of these specials on Bronny. You know, here's what I would look for. You want a legitimate betting angle on this stuff. If I'm right, and again, I'm basing this on kind of my understanding of the situation and seeing the reports out there as well, right? They're saying they're going to try and do this early. If Bronny hits the court in opening quarter and sports books then hang props on him, play under. He only probably gets back in if it's a blowout. That's my expectation. He probably only gets back in if one of those teams is up by 25 plus in the fourth quarter. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean he'll look to score the rock. Like if he checks into that game and they all of a sudden hang a 5.5 points prop, you look to play it under. But again, this is going to, I think, be a really fun moment. And it's going to be a really fun game. It's going to be a really fun game. Like we can start right there, right off the bat. And we're right here with you on SportsGrid, SportsGrid Radio, also SportsGrid on demand on YouTube. If you're in that chat box, which I hesitate to go look. Are people upset about me being normal around, what do we think? About me being around Bronny? Yes, some anger. Not around Bronny as much. JP's hyped, though. We're going to get some stuff out of JP. We'll talk some futures and things like that with JP. I've ran through all 30 teams, and I know where I sit on just about everything. One or two I's to dot and T's to cross with the league and everything before we officially kick things off tonight. On game time decisions will be loaded up with futures. We're going to have Coach James Young in studio with us as well. Get some of his takes. So we have a lot of good stuff for people. We do. But with Lakers Timberwolves, man, I like the Lakers in the game, but I want to make this clear. That is more to actually do with the Minnesota side than the Lakers side. It really is. There's aspects of the Lakers that I like. I truly believe J.J. Redick has value in the Coach of the Year market. We can get into that. Maybe we'll get into all the awards markets. because I don't know how many bets I'm actually going to place within them, but I have thoughts on all of them. So we'll go through them. But with Minnesota, I really don't like the move they made by trading away Karl Anthony Towns and bringing in Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. The Timberwolves won 56 games last year and made the Western Conference Finals. Why would they not just run that back? Like, it wasn't as if that team had been knocking on the door year after year, right? It's like, come on, man, like, it's time to make a move here. You know that this isn't going to get you across the finish line. They were favored to win the series in the conference finals and matched up better with Boston than actually Dallas did. I didn't think they matched up well with Dallas. Again, cashed a preseason Western Conference Finals outright ticket on Dallas, which was awesome. So you bring in Julius Randle, who is now going to have just a role that won't make any sense to him. Like, Cat's best skill set is the ability to shoot the three. Randle is just a terrible three-point shooter at this point. He had one good year with the Knicks. It was fraudulent. It was fraudulent. His usage rating is going, if it's going to mirror Cat's, it's going to be his lowest since he was a Laker, Julius Randle. Like, did that fit work for people? No way, man. No way. We'll talk more NBA with you, some awards right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh.
Fall is here.
It's getting cooler.
Football and the World Series are coming in.
Life is good. SportsGrid makes it better.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
John Callis, the man Baltimore police were searching for in connection with a viral video of an assault on football fans, turned himself in on Monday. Charging documents show the viral video was the second encounter between Callis and three victims on October 13th. WBAL reports the 24-year-old is charged with first-degree aggravated assault and 3 counts of second-degree assault. Documents say Callis punched a victim on the left side of his head and caused them to go completely limp while falling in an unconscious state towards a nearby parked vehicle and hitting his head on the vehicle's left side door. Documents purported to show classified U.S. intelligence gathering on Israel's preparations for a potential retaliatory strike on Iran appeared on social media platforms this week. It is unclear what impact the potential leak may have on any Israeli military planning for a possible strike on Iran. On Sunday, House Speaker Mike Johnson acknowledged that there is an investigation into the possible intelligence leak.
I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
In business, service is everything. Cintas delivers what you need to better serve your customers. Whether it's freshly laundered work apparel for almost any job imaginable, tested and inspected fire protection systems, first aid and safety supplies, on-site AED training, or mops and restroom products, stocked and ready when you need them. Better work days happen together. So visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check you have a full tank of gas first before road tripping through the desert.
Empty? Seriously? Maybe I can walk.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Maybe I can't.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Days are getting cooler.
The shadows are getting longer.
You know what that means? It's football weather. So bundle up and keep it here for all the latest strategies and gridiron information.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Let's go get them, shots. All right, we're back to right here. We're live on SportsGrid Radio Series. Hey. Have a little walk. We'll apply through some awards, shall we? Let's make it happen. I'll go to FanDuel. We'll acknowledge the favorite, and then we'll kind of shoot down. All right? MVP. Luke is the favorite. SGA not far behind. Jokic is in the same tier as those guys, and then it kind of drops down. Giannis and Tatum. I have a bet that was placed in the preseason. Brunson in that mix as well. On Victor Wembanyama at 50-1, which is awesome because it's 20-1. Now the trick is kind of winning the bet, right? Like, I knew I was going to beat that number, even if it started at 50-1, because Victor Wembanyama in the advanced box score metrics that are actually more predictive than people will probably want to believe. for winning MVP, he's going to be top 5 in. So I knew that 50-1 was a good number. The issue, though, now is actually winning the bet. Now, in order to win the bet, I don't think Wemby has to do as much as a lot of the other guys, right? Like Luke and SGA probably going to have to be the 1 seed in the West. Jokic would have to be the 1 seed in the West or something along those lines, right? That's the argument that if you actually take a look at the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, all the guys, if you look at the guys, that's kind of perfect, right? All the guys in front of Wemby, the whole thing is like, we have to win 55 games at a minimum and be great for Brunson, Tatum, and all those guys. Wemby probably has to win 42 games. That'd be 20 more wins. Have the best defense in basketball. You know what I wonder if the biggest block is in getting this thing for Wemby? Is if he wins MVP this year, like, can Victor Wembanyama sweep the awards? Can Vic go out there and win MVP and DPOY and maybe most improved in his sophomore season? Again, 50-1 is a good number. I'll probably be willing to cash out. I will be surprised if it is not Luka or SGA. I'm in on both of those basketball teams to varying degrees. I think they're the 2 best teams in the Western Conference. I think they're 2 of the 5 best teams in the NBA. And based on every single thing that I've lined up here, based on all the typical criteria to win this award, I will be pretty surprised if it is not Luka Doncic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mentioned Defensive Player of the Year, so let's just kind of hit that right now. With Vic as the favorite at minus 155, one of the strongest favorites we've seen to win an award for quite some time. Well, it's justified. But I'm not betting it. I would not bet minus 155. Now, if you look, Wemby last season finished second in the race. He finished second in the race despite being on a 22-win team in his rookie season that had a bottom 10 defense. He finished second in MVP, in Defensive Player of the Year. That's why I kind of feel like betting anybody else also feels a bit of a waste. It's, to me, a bit of a dead market. Now, if Wembanyama was injured, which would be unfortunate, but if he was, obviously it's open season if he couldn't meet the 65-game minimum. The guys that stood out to me were Chet Holmgren, Bam Adebayo. Yes, the next 2 options, but I think both of those teams with their defense, with the way that they rely on Chet Holmgren and Bam Adebayo, will actively be in those races, as well as Anthony Davis. I do think there's a desire from JJ Redick to get him in the mix on those awards and to be a defensive anchor for that basketball team. And if he's successful in doing so, look for AD to be in that conversation. And at 31-1, you're clipping what is, I think, still a pretty good number. Another big man-centric award is Zach Edey. He is now the plus 290 favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Another spot where preseason I was able to make the right judgment. I don't know. I know that doesn't do anything for you guys now, but I have to let you know where I'm starting so you understand where I'm going. On draft night, put in some Zach Edey 20-1. Yeah, plus 2,000 to win the Rookie of the Year. Again, beat the number. That's great. I obviously have more confidence in this winning, like relative than the Wemby bet. Like, I'm not cashing out or anything of that nature. I don't think he's a stone cold lock at plus 290. I think there are still other guys that you could bet. Here are the people that I would take. Here is who I would just take a look at, and it's mostly bigs. Donovan Clingan might have had the best preseason game of any player, much less any rookie. I think he had a 20-20 game in like 20-something minutes for Portland. Ayton's terrible. Portland's terrible, but Clingan is good. And if they just let Clingan play a bunch, he could put up some good numbers. He could have some good advanced metrics. Again, Wemby won this award last year going away on a 22-win team, while Chet Holmgren's Western Conference Oklahoma City Thunder had the 1 seed and had 57 wins. So, record isn't the end-all, be-all. It's not, okay? Now, Wemby had a lot more responsibility than I expect Donovan Clingan to have. But again, as they trade guys out of Portland, that could increase. Khalil Ware is interesting. The second he landed in Miami, that was an incredible fit. Ware's looked awesome in the summer league. He's looked good in the in the preseason as well. I really, really like what I've seen from Khalil Ware. And I also think that he can play next to Bam Adebayo, which means there's going to be a lot of minutes available there for Khalil Ware. Because if he can only play when Bam's off the floor, well, Bam's going to play, 35 or so minutes, right? 35 minutes. That's not going to be that much. Okay? This is a spot to me where Khalil Ware makes sense. And then, as I mentioned kind of off the top, Dalton Connect. Connect gets a Laker bump. There's going to be more eyes on him. He's also incredibly pro-ready. We saw the polish in that big preseason breakout game where he had 35. We know what he did at Tennessee, where if the Lakers are a playoff team, I think they are. Okay, I think they project much better than the 42.5 win total, than the pick and price to make the playoffs, which is currently out there right now. I think they project much better than that. If the Lakers are a top 5 seed and Connect is a legitimate rotation player for that team, he's going to be in that conversation for Rookie of the Year. I like the position I have on Zach Edey. I'm not opposed to adding in some others, but since I have what is such a good number on Edey, I'm willing to wait, let some guys get eliminated, and let some guys kind of infiltrate that market and feel a little bit better. Richeche, Reed Shepard, Sarr, Castle, Buzelis, these guys aren't starting. They don't move the needle for me as much. Finish out the awards. We're live at you here at SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM Channel 159. Hands up.
Suddenly we all got our hands up. Fall is coming. Don't look like an idiot at work. Know your stuff. Football and everything else. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Kenny Stabler, 13 out of 18. Hasn't missed many.
1984, NFL quarterback Ken Stabler retires.
I really haven't changed much at all. The appearance may have changed a little bit. More gray hair, a little older, a little more beat up.
The Snake led the Raiders to a 13-1 record in 1976 and a Super Bowl win over the Minnesota Vikings 32-14.
Thumped them pretty good.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
If you've ever brewed your own beer, you may have discovered that bad brewer's yeast, through a process called hyperattenuation, can massively boost the beer's alcohol content, change its flavor, or, in a worst case scenario, make your beer explode.
Cheers.
New research by the American Society of Microbiology found that adding small amounts of one of 8 different kinds of killer toxins to your beer prevents bad taste, extra alcohol content, and explosions. But if not done carefully, might lead to other problems. Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
The Early Line.
We did ask Dr. Chow about Jaden Daniels getting ready for a huge game in Week 8 as the Commanders will take on the Bears. It's a matchup of number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams and, of course, number 2 overall pick in Jaden Daniels. He said he is worried about Daniels playing right away, might miss a game or 2.
It's The Early Line with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. Fall is almost here. It's time to stow the lawnmower and get ready for all that glorious action coming your way. Stay tuned to SportsGrid for all the strategies, angles, and info you need to get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, which right here on SportsGrid. We're going to get JP in the mix in about 5 minutes. I really want to hear what he has to say, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth. I just want to go through the race for people here. With the Rookie of the Year, I'll just say, like, Richeche, Atlanta doesn't look like they're going to start him, and I don't think he's all that good. I think Reed's very good. It's a crowded backcourt in Houston. He's not starting over Van Vliet or Jalen Green. They're going to play him in Thompson a lot. The Rockets don't have their roster figured out. The Wizards are the worst team in basketball. They might start Alex Sarr just because they don't care about, putting out a smart roster. Like, truly, like, that's kind of where we are with them, which, like, it is what it is. I don't knock him for that, but also they're like him starting. I'm not even sure is better because the usage is going to be low on a terrible basketball team. I don't like that. Castle's interesting because if/unfortunately when Chris Paul is injured, he could slot in to be their starting point guard. Of the shorter guys that I look past, he would kind of be that most interesting. Matas Buzelis doesn't move the needle for me. Sixth man of the year, I have a funky take on, if you will, that I'm actually going to hold in my back pocket. I want to talk Knicks with JP specifically. Coach of the year, I think JJ Redick makes a lot of sense. I think the price on Jason Kidd is tempting. I think Budenholzer is an understandable bet for one of the top of the market guys. Eric Spoelstra as well, if the Miami Heat can kind of figure some things out. I'll just do the selling point for people on JJ Redick and see if they can kind of understand where I'm coming from with this. First of all, the narrative can work for or against, but there is no coach who will be talked about more this season than JJ Redick. So, like, if the Lakers are bad, obviously he's going to get crushed. But if the Lakers are good, don't you think that JJ Redick might end up getting maybe even more credit than he deserves? Probably, right? I think the fact that JJ Redick has proven to be such an analytical guy is going to see that crop of voters really love him. Where if he can juice up this team's shot profile, right, get him shooting more threes, you're going to see an appreciation for that. And it might be a little bit easier for some of the voters to see those recognizable differences that are coming with JJ Redick taking over for Darvin Ham, who was a really bad coach. And the more you look at it, Darvin Ham, it wasn't even just like the in-game stuff with Darvin Ham. There was kind of one thing that really jumped off the page to me where, like, I don't really understand what was going through Darvin Ham's mind. The team that went to the Western Conference Finals, which again didn't happen that long ago, it was 2 seasons ago, saw Rui Hachimura be a huge part of it. Well, Rui Hachimura spent half the season coming off of the bench. When the Lakers started LeBron and Rui together, 30-game sample size, 21-9, that's a 57.5 win pace over 82 games. Now, they're not going to play 82 games together, but it gives you the idea. Let's go a step further. Simplest fix in the book, JJ's already made it. And this is where you guys got to ask yourself again, like, did Darvin Ham, was he even like allowed at practice? I don't understand what's going on here. Rui started 39 games. The Lakers went 26-13 in those games. That is a 54.7 win pace. Literally all you had to do was start Rui Hachimura, and the Lakers would have had probably an additional 4 wins. So they won 47 last year. I think that JJ Redick can come in and get them to 50-plus wins. Sometimes a coach of the year needs like 60 wins, this, that, and the third. I don't think JJ needs all that. With all the eyes that'll be on him, I think it works in his favor. And I know there are people who are like, well, what happens when there's injuries for the Lakers? Again, JJ will get credit for that. Oh, man, he missed LeBron for this amount of time. I know there will be some people who will tear JJ down. I think there's going to be an abundance of, if they're good, I think he's going to get a lot of credit. I really believe that. And at 25-1, I think he's worth a look. As I said, Budenholzer, if he gets the Suns to shoot a ton of threes, makes sense. I'm not as in on Phoenix as I kind of even thought I would be. They got tricked into getting a point guard. They never needed a point guard. The roster, just to me, is not really built appropriately. I like the Miami Heat this season more than where their numbers sit. Spoelstra makes sense if they can really hit a groove. They're going to get another 20 games out of Tyler Hero. They're going to get double the games out of Terry Rozier. Year 2, Jaime Jaquez, Leo Ware, rookie season. Year 3, Nikola Jovic. I like what Miami kind of brings to the table. The shortest number I'd play on the board, if I were to play it, would be Mazzulla. Just because if the Celtics win 70 games, he probably will win Coach of the Year. And it's pretty much that simple. Let's get JP in here. Let me see if I can sell him on a 75-1 shot out in the market involving the New York Knicks. That is on the other side of a quick break with you here on SportsGrid. Do you?
Time to coil up that garden hose. Fall is here. And SportsGrid has you covered with strategies and info on football, baseball, and everything else. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk is done for the season. He injured his right knee against the Chiefs. He tore the ACL and MCL in his right knee. It'll require surgery and end his season after just 7 games. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel was limited Sunday and checked into a hospital dealing with a form of pneumonia. The Raiders have signed quarterback Desmond Ridder. The former third-round pick joins Vegas after starting quarterback Aiden O'Connell broke the thumb at his throwing hand. Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams is facing a 2-game suspension for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substances policy. The NBA season kicks off tonight. The defending champions Celtics host the Knicks, while the Lakers are home against the Timberwolves. Monday Night Football, the Cardinals beat the Chargers 17-15. The Ravens over the Buccaneers 41-31. On Thursday night, the Rams play host to the Vikings. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
October is ending, but I want to keep the fall fun going, so I shopped Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I saved 30% on top active brands like Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. Then I got my kids some boots for under $22, scored 50% off Food Network baking must-haves, and earned Kohl's cash. Yep, it doesn't get better than Kohl's. Flex styles, offers end October 27th. Coupons do not apply to Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, and great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Right before your very eyes, the boys of summer are about to become the champions of fall. MLB playoffs are coming, and SportsGrid will bring you all the angles, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Welcome back. We're live to right here on SportsGrid. I shouldn't chuckle, but I have to. Breaking news in the NBA. Tomorrow, the 76ers will be without Paul George and Joel Embiid. You had to see that coming, right? You had to see it. I mean, I didn't see Embiid. I didn't know Embiid was going to miss the game. I'll make this last point, and we're going to get JP in. So I went through the whole deal. I think I've landed on the. I think my belief is fully healthy. The Sixers have the best roster in basketball. And I truly do not think there is even a single person in the world that could convince me they are worth betting to win the title or win the conference because of this. Because of that. Last year with Joel Embiid, they were as good as the Boston Celtics. Win percentage, net rating, you name it, they did it. They did it with Embiid. And then the same thing that always happens. And now Paul George, who's an injury guy, again, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate, but it is reality. If the 76ers show up to the Eastern Conference Finals fully healthy, yeah, maybe I'll bet on them. But again, they've also never even been to the conference finals with Embiid. The roster is legitimately great. Great. It doesn't matter. I will not touch a future. And there are people out there I know that are betting that team to miss the playoffs. What if it all goes bad? Play in. I get it. Hear what I'm saying to you. I think that this team fully healthy is the best roster in basketball, and I'd rather bet them to miss the playoffs than win the title. That's how little trust I have in their health situation, because they've given us every reason to believe that you shouldn't have trust in it. I was correct about the Clippers thing for a long time, and then Paul George left. People would have convinced themselves again, by the way, to bet the Clippers this season. I promise you that. To win the West and everything. If they're healthy, right? The Sixers seemingly are in a comparable boat. The Sixers are one of the two teams this season that made some big moves in an attempt to catch the Boston Celtics. The Sixers and the Knicks. JP, our producer here, knows this Knicks squad very well. So much so that I was trying to do a tease and a wink to a 75-1 ticket on Josh Hart to win 6th Man of the Year. Then he immediately in the break told me he knew exactly what I was getting at because he's on it as well. JP, can you give your thoughts on not just Josh Hart, Sixth Man of the Year, but the Knicks as a whole?
Yeah, super excited for this Knicks season. The Josh Hart bet that you have, I've loved since it was 40-1. And I think the preseason and him starting gave the books the idea that he would start all year, so they've bumped it down to 75-1. I think that's a massive mistake given that even he himself has come out and said, I don't know if I need to come off the bench to find my role better. We're getting Mitchell Robinson back, and I think it makes more sense continuity-wise for him to come off the bench.
Yeah, my big thing is I think that this team's best version starts Mitchell Robinson. So because of that, I think that puts Josh Hart on the bench. I myself haven't ran to bet it, though, because Mitch Robinson's supposed to be back until like January. And I don't know if at that point it'll kind of be burnt. But you'd think that he could get benched within like 2 weeks of the season?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Especially when you're missing Achua to start the season now, too, with that hamstring injury. Your bench depth is all guards. It's Campaign. It's Miles McBride. You lost your only wing depth piece with Landry Shamet. And if you're going to run out Jericho Sims and 2 point guards, Jericho Sims isn't a great rebounder. You need bench rebounding, you need bench defense, and you need bench wing depth. And the only guy right now that fits any of those molds is Josh Hart. And you could use the shooting in the starting lineup with Miles McBride. Him and Brunson had the highest plus minus of any duo in the Knicks last year. They play well together. It makes a lot of sense for them to start together. And Josh Hart is the perfect guy off the bench right now.
So I went into my Knicks breakdown, JP, expecting to love that team because I've loved all their moves individually. I figured out. Oh, the OG trade, awesome, loved it. They were 19-2 last year when Brunson and OG played together in the regular season. 19-2. Okay, that if anybody wants to know, that win pace is the record. I'm pretty sure, which is nuts. I love the McCollum deal, absolutely loved it, and not just for the Nova Knicks. Like bringing in Bridges was a really good move. I love the Cat trade. You heard how I don't like it for Minnesota. I fear they maybe made one move too many for a star. And I look at their depth, and it's disastrous. And I feel like they've now put Tibbs right back in the position to run his guys into the ground. Like, JP, if this was 2K, I hate doing this. I thought I was going to like this team a lot more. But if this was 2K, like I hate saying stuff like that, but like I'd be all in. But it's not. We can't turn the injury sliders off. I think they're going to get off to a slower start than people think. I think when Mitchell Robinson is back, add in a deadline move, I might bet the Knicks in the playoffs. But coming into the year, I didn't even list them as one of my top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference because the depth, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe where I ended up on the New York Knicks after I went through my breakdowns.
Yeah, I think they're going to get off to a little bit of a rocky start in the season, and they look to acquire a wing depth piece like a newly signed Corey Kispert in the middle of the season with some of their Mitchell Robinson or Precious Achiuwa contracts, but especially not even accounting for the fact that they don't have the depth. They don't have any of the continuity with a lot of these guys. Like OG is one of their their longest tenured players now, and he just got there and he's played like 20 games with Brunson. Like what you're trying to piece together in a very short time span with very high expectations. And you even brought up a while ago about the homecoming of Cat. That usually doesn't go well. There's a lot going on here that might not immediately all fit together, and I hear your concerns. And I think later in the season, we'll start to see it around January, February, where things start to mesh.
Yeah, like they struggle, and then all of a sudden we're getting like 15-1 to in the East. We'll talk.
Yep.
By the way, if they don't struggle, maybe I'm wrong and I overthought a team I thought I really liked. I like all the guys. Like, OG is one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball. I really like Mikal Bridges. I understand people's beef with Cat, but like Cat has been much better than the conversation for quite some time. Brunson proved himself, right? He's one of the, let's call it 15 best players in basketball on the conservative end of it, right? We saw what he was able to do in the playoffs. When I saw that like Pacome Dadiet was the number 1 wing off the bench, I almost vomited. It was truly mind-blowing to me where, like, I don't know about you, I ended up really in on this Pacers team, and I'm probably going to bet them at 25-1 to win the East. Yeah.
I love this Pacers team, and I love that bet. And now I just want to say one thing on this Knicks team. By struggle to get off this season, I think they're going to absolutely smoke a lot of teams because that offensive floor is just too high. But I think in some of these bigger games, they're going to struggle to actually defend some of the better guards in particular, and they're going to get out-rebounded. And the Pacers, to hit on that point, absolutely love this season.
The Pacers are not a good matchup for the Knicks. I will tell you that. Which is funny. Like last year, when we went through the Western Conference playoffs, so much of it was matchup dependent. Like Minnesota played, people were like, oh man, you want to play Dallas, it's just two guys. It was a bad matchup. It was a bad matchup for Minnesota. Just what it was, right? Like they had a much easier time with Denver. Where if the Knicks end out there in a series with the Bucks, who like I currently have higher than them, right? And then it's like, oops, Doc, uh-oh. And then the Knicks beat them in a 4-5 matchup. Like, that doesn't surprise me at all. Where they play the Pacers and they'll be like, oh, they're going to smoke this team. And then the Pacers just do exactly what they did last year. It's like, hold on a minute. They have 140 points in a playoff game? It's like, yeah. Yeah, they do. You better believe they do. I know we're running up against the break here, man. Let's do a little Western Conference. I'm curious what JP's looking at over there. My NBA Finals pick is going to come from the West. It's not the Lakers. It's not the Lakers. We're going to talk about it with you right here on Sirius XM Channel 129.
Yeah, it's getting cooler. Football weather is here. Stay tuned for all the latest odds, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. Shop Chuck Sanders. Game 1 of the World Series is this Friday night in Los Angeles with the Dodgers hosting the Yankees. Garrett Cole named the starter for Game 1 for New York. The Dodgers still haven't announced their starting pitcher yet. The rivalry dates back to the 1940s when both teams were based in New York. This will be the 12th all-time meeting of the Fall Classic, with the Yankees winning 8 times and the Dodgers winning 3. Most recently, 1981, when Tommy Lasorda led Los Angeles to the win. The teams have combined for 7 World Series titles since then, but none have come against each other. AP Top 25 football this week. Oregon up 1 spot to number 1. The Ducks are 7-0. Georgia jumped 3 spots to number 2. Penn State number 3. Ohio State's number 4. Texas down 4 spots to number 5. Monday Night Football, the Ravens over Tampa 41-31. The Cards beat the Chargers 17-15. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
What's better than 1 win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get 1 line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
When the weather cools off, Major League Baseball playoffs heat up. Sit tight. The World Series is coming. Keep it here for every bit of the action with strategies and information to give you the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, get right back with us here on SportsGrid Radio. I just realized, I think this is the first time I've done Moneyline without a hat on. What am I doing? I'm too excited for the NBA. All right, I'm gonna take a fan request like I'm a DJ. Here's a Wizards breakdown, and I feel bad about this because it's not gonna go the way that the person wants. This team, the only player who had a positive box score plus minus that they bring back is Marvin Bagley. You have to be kidding me. You have to be joking. The Wizards feel like a team that I will end up watching way too much of. And I know I'll talk way too much about them due to our game time and a lot of our football show producer, Sam Yarnell, being a Wizards fan. I did my tiers. I had them in a tier of their own as the worst in basketball. There's a minus 175 bet for them to be the 14 or 15 seed in the East that I'm very strongly considering. I cannot wrap my head around there being two worse teams in the Eastern Conference. I cannot. Cooper Flag. There's a lot of different names out there for Flag. Some of them, Capture the Flag is the smoothest one. There's some outrageous ones out there. Let's go to the West quickly. JP, our producer, who is going to be dialed in for the NBA season, is locked and loaded. So, JP, I think my finals bet is going to come from here, but I also might make a Western Conference outright bet because I think there could be kind of just some value on it. Talk to me about where I want to hear from you. Where are you on the Western Conference right now?
Yeah, it's hard to look at that conference and think of anyone other than the Thunder as the best team. But if we're looking at value, this is a very public bet, but I really do think the Suns are going to have a strong season this year.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I went through the Suns. The Suns, somewhat similar to the Knicks in that I went into the breakdown thinking I would really, really like this team. And it's even worse than the Knicks thing. So let me see, JP, if I can sell you against it. Now, I could be wrong, right? So here's the positive case for the Suns. They stay healthy, and Mike Budenholzer is a massive upgrade, and they win 55 games, right? Like, that is the simple selling point on this whole thing. Here's what I think is the reality. Last year, Devin Booker, games played, was exactly what you would expect from Devin Booker on a year-to-year basis. Bradley Beal, games played, was exactly what you would expect on a year-to-year basis. Nurkic played 20 more games than his next closest season in the past 5 years. Kevin Durant played 20 more games than his next closest season since the Achilles tear. And those are the two guys you cannot miss because the front court depth doesn't exist. They got tricked into needing a point guard. They don't need a point guard. Devin Booker can play point guard, or Beal can play point guard. I don't know who tricked them into that whatsoever. Behind Nurkic is like Plumlee and Bol. I don't even know if they have a power forward on the roster. Like Royce O'Neal's not a power forward. He's not. So here's what I think. Like, let's say you get from Booker and Beal, JP, 10 more games combined than you got last year. It's not going to make up for getting 30 less games out of Durant and Nurkic. And literally, I went through this. I couldn't believe it. I was like, just trade KD. Like, just trade Kevin Durant. Like, I'm out on the Rockets. The thing that I'm worried about is them getting Kevin Durant at the trade deadline. Because I don't think this works. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I'm very far away from that opinion. I'm kind of on the opposite end where a lot of those Bradley Beal seasons are kind of gimmicky in that the Wizards weren't playing for anything and he sat out a lot of those games. So I thought last year was an outlier in terms of Bradley Beal's health. I expect him to be much healthier, and they've got games under their belt. You get some of that continuity back. I really like how good Ryan Dunn has looked. And if you can get, even 15 to 20 minutes where he's shooting even 35% from three, which is what he did in the preseason, that's going to be some insane backup point guard minutes. You've got Tyus Jones in there now. Mason Plumlee's a good backup NBA center, so even if he has to start some games for Nurkic, I think they're going to eke out 7 or 8 more wins than last year. And in a crowded West, that puts you up to the 2 or 3 seed. And if you're playing games in Phoenix against Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, like that's a lineup you don't want to play. And I think that they could make some noise, and I could see them being the team that takes down the Thunder in the West.
Yeah, I'm ready to be wrong. I think you make an interesting point with Beal, where a lot of that could be Washington based. But my thing is, I guess, JP, here will be the sticking point for me. You could tell me Beal will be healthier, Booker will be healthier. You will never convince me that Durant and Nurkic will be that healthy. specifically Durant. And I don't think they can afford to miss Durant for the amount of games that they're probably going to miss Kevin Durant.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. The one thing that does help them, if that is what happens, is you have guys that are really good both on the ball and off the ball. So if you are missing Kevin Durant, you just get more Devin Booker on the ball. And it's not that he can't do that at the clip that you would need him to as the leading scorer. It's that you have Kevin Durant, so you don't need him to, so you don't ask him to. And then you have Bradley Beal off the ball on that. So I think the scoring would be easily replaced. You're not going to lose a ton defensively minus Kevin Durant. I mean, you're going to lose a ton in the rebounding department just because, I mean, you're going to have to start a God knows what 6'6" Royce O'Neal in that position. But I think overall, with the shooting they have off the bench, the depth is good this year too, in my opinion. I think they really can get it done if they're missing some of their key guys for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and listen, I think you make a fair breakdown. I think the world where Budenholzer gets in there, who's had some good defensive seasons before. Now, those were with Giannis when he was the best defensive player in the world. But if they can hold themselves together on defense and he just gets them bombing threes, I could be way wrong. It's one of those things game to game. I'm not sure I'm fading them. It's just big picture. I think health could derail their season. I'm in on the Mavericks. That's not a hot take for people. I'm in on the Sacramento Kings. That probably is. DeMar DeRozan is the third best player on this team. I think DeMar DeRozan has been the best player on every team he's ever played in his life. That makes things pretty interesting to me. We're with you on the opening day of the NBA season, closing it out on the other side of this break.
The boys of summer become the champions of fall. The World Series is on its way. And SportsGrid brings you every angle. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid Radio presents Legends of the Fall.
1951, the shot heard around the world. The New York Giants' Bobby Thompson homers off the Dodgers' Ralph Branca to give the Giants the National League pennant. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Moneyline.
The Carolina Panthers now sit at 1-6, 1-3 on the road. They are horrendous this year. David Tepper's ownership has been one of the worst in the NFL. I don't know where they go from here. Fire the general manager, just hired him. Fire the head coach, you just hired him. Get a new quarterback, you just got when you drafted him number 1 just a few short years ago. Yeah. Like, this is a terribly run franchise with no hope right now.
Catch Moneyline with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network.
No way football is playing in the fall and winter because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, closing it out with you on this Tuesday again. Make sure you head over to Game Time Decisions tonight, 6 o'clock start time. We'll fly through it all. JP, let me allow you to kind of give any thoughts that maybe you haven't been able to get out there yet to the people. NBA season, what should the people, what do you want to let the people know?
Yeah, let's start with that Knicks Celtics game tonight. My best bet is that game over. There's a few things that carry over from the preseason to the regular season, and that is how many threes you are taking and the pace in which you play. The Knicks are playing at a top 10 pace in the NBA, And the Celtics had one of the most efficient offensive seasons, if not the most efficient offensive season outside of the Pacers in NBA history last year. I think both those teams are going to get up and down the floor, score a lot of points. And if this game was listed next week after we got a sample size, this would be around 235.5, not the 222.5.
All right, there we go. Likes the over in that basketball game. Anything jump out to you for Lakers Timberwolves yet?
Nothing. I want to see how those minutes work out for the Timberwolves. Early look at it. I want.
All good.
Yeah, I want to see some of those.
Let me just say with the Dallas Mavericks, because this is where I'm going to end up in my title pick, man. It's rare, I think, with the way I bet, but obviously game to game is different than season futures, and maybe I needed a reminder of that. But also, I really went into these previews that I did, and these are my notes. That's all it is. I went into them with preconceived notions. We all do, right? It's not like I'm showing up to break these teams down and I don't have any idea who's on the roster or anything like that. So I have an idea of how I'm going to feel. And I told you guys that I thought I would be in on the Knicks, and I wasn't. And I thought I would be in on the Suns, and I wasn't. Now, there were teams I thought I would be in on, and I was, right? Lakers, Pacers, right? Those, Kings a little bit. Like, I kind of thought I would like Sacramento, and I did. I like Sacramento. There were teams I thought I'd be out on, and I'm out, right? No, thank you. The Chicago Bulls, right? The Golden State Warriors, right? So kind of some examples. I did not think I would be in on the Dallas Mavericks. I really didn't. I bet them preseason last year to win the Western Conference, clipped it. Awesome. I never thought they had a chance to beat Boston. They didn't. They lose. I was like, man, Clay thing, they had issues last year that nobody was able to exploit in the West. I went through it. I love the Mavericks. I mean, I love this basketball team. We're just carrying it over. We're going from winning the West to winning the title at 11-1. The Luka starting point is important. I still think that more often than not, you need to have one of the best players in the league. Boston's an outlier. Right? Tatum is one of the 10 best players in the NBA, right? They were able to survive Tatum playing bad because of their depth, is what I should say. Luka is one of the very, very best in this sport. And Clay is going to step in and help this team get their offense right. Because that was actually the talking point. While people were insanely worried about Luka's defense in the finals, that was not the problem. It just wasn't. They couldn't score with Boston. And there were times where their defense was stepping up. They need the offense to get better. Well, now you have Luka, Kyrie, and Clay. You love that. So then the question on Dallas is the defense real? Yes, I think so. Well, relatively. Post-deadline, they had the second best defense in basketball. Second best net rating in basketball. You know who was first in net rating? Boston. You know who went to the finals? Boston. You know who went to the finals on the West side? The Mavericks. Post-deadline, the two best teams in basketball played in the finals. Year one, Jason Kidd, they went to the Western Conference Finals. So now he's been to 2 in 3 seasons. Right? Jason Kidd had a top 6 defense. Year number 1 in Dallas. Makes trades, all of a sudden the defense is good. Looks like the guy might be able to coach defense. So I think now with Luka, Kyrie, and all that, this team is positioned to be top 8 both sides of the basketball. How many teams is that true of? Boston, OKC. Denver, maybe. Dallas for sure. And I think that this team's ready to make that run. 11-1, we're clipping the Mavericks here, baby. We're gonna take a goodbye. It's really a break though, because I will see you tonight for a huge game time decisions on SportsGrid. Cannot wait. The NBA is here. Hope I'm wrong though. Little LA Brown.
Fall is here.
It's getting cooler.
Football and the World Series are coming in.
Life is good. SportsGrid makes it better.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.